You know what, Middle God? I'm believing the V3 copium right now. If ever there was a game, this would be it for V3 to actually be able to win this. For everything I said, that silent support, can be an issue for the Maokai. Seraphine, not so much. Yes, Seraphine can out-sustain you, but if you're the Maokai here, she's burstable. And if she gets hit by a couple of saplings here, this is kill territory. And I don't know what a Scion mid's going to do against the Rise. I've not seen a Scion mid in a hot minute. The last time I think I saw it was back in season 2 when it was still an AP mage.
Oh yeah. And he sounded like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
Just like it's like, okay.
Yeah.
Some of the old VOs were a little bit funky, but we are into game now. RMC V3 looking for 1-20, the dream Rascal Jester, with a bit more of a, well, I think both teams have got fairly interesting compositions. Red side team unable to secure second place, unfortunately locked into third, but want to go out of the regular split with a win. And I think season 2 points good, but this does feel like something Doinby played at his peak when he was so good a few seasons back. So not something completely new to the competitive stage, but definitely a bit of a spicier pick. Cattell going for an engage onto Secret here at the level 1. That's a fair bit of damage actually traded through, but the Maokai almost giving as good as he's got there.
Yeah, and it's interesting to note how this sort of bot lane dynamic works, because yes, Seraphine's got sustain,
but so does Maokai. Ignite dropped as well. Secret, no way out of this one. One more auto, but not quite in time. You said that V3 possibly have the best chance to grab a win in the final day of the split, and they are going for it.
They are, and you love to see it, right? Because the way this sort of bot lane works is you need to be constantly aggressive if you are the side of V3. The sustain from Seraphine Senna is absolutely disgusting. So if you're not killing them, they are healing themselves back up. And Hetel here needs to be the one to tank damage, because Maokai has self-sustain in lane. He can heal back up. Dress Code can't. So V3's bot lane here getting real spicy, and Hacha Mecha now pathing down towards this bot side as well. This window of pressure for V3 kind of closing a little bit. I want to see them play a bit more carefully. Wait till Unica is down there to reinforce. And in a 3v3, they could still win. The Secret is still very, very low.
I mean, the thing is, we already saw how much burst can come out from the Ezreal and the Maokai when it's just an initial engage on someone. When you're pairing that up with that extra CC that Unica is going to provide on this Jarvan, who does want to be getting out on the map and doing things early. And with no flash on Secret, I think that kills are likely, but there are no summoners on the V3 bot lane either, so it would be risky if Hatcher were to make his way down. Doesn't look like he's going to be doing that, though, clearing through his walls and maybe going towards his top side.
Unica's in the area, though, and the wave is pushing out here. So Unica is just buying a bit of time. After you pick up that scuttle, that wave should be in the perfect spot here, middle caught. And the question is, do Rascal Jesters know, and are they going to deal with this? They're calling for assistance here because they know that they're starting to get a little bit exposed with this push.
Yeah, but as that wave is pushed out, that does mean that Hatchemecha has fewer options to find a gank path. Could go for a lane gank, but would be investing a lot of time here.
I think it's going to be efficient, because I don't think V3 knows or is aware of this right now. So they're trying to call Unica back down here. And actually, Yu-Gi-Oh's coming as well. Hatchemecha doesn't know. Is the recall complete?
As a recall go through, Unica has been spotted and the Lee Sin is still around. This could go badly for V3. It could go badly for Unica, as he's going to be first blood. Not the great start that V3 wanted in their final game of the split, but exactly what Rascal Jesters wanted.
Efficient.
Very efficient, man.
I mean, that kill was served up on a silver platter for Hatchemecha. Hatchemecha was about to go back to base, and it kind of worked out topside to Washidai.
Does have the ignite. Did counterpick this Camille into the Nara, and we kind of expected it to go this way, bullying out Washidai in these early stages. When you are mini, you don't have all those resistances, you don't have that bonus HP, and you don't really have too much CC that can get the Camille off of you when she does go for those long extended trades. Yeah, and with the Nara at that level, first couple of levels before first buys, Nars can win the lane with that range advantage. But the fact that Washidai wasn't able to, and now that has picked up the Sheen, this is usually where it starts getting a little bit tough for the Nar, when those Qs really start to chunk through from the Camille. So topside's in trouble, and V3 focused the bot lane. I appreciated the thought here, but they can no longer do that. If you're spending all your attention bot side,
Washida is in for a lot of problems to this top side here, especially if Hachimicha does decide to just throw a gank or two in that top side. Soul and Secret really don't need resources. That's one of the annoying parts about a Seraphine lane, is that you can just abandon it and it'll scale. Oh,
it scales ridiculously hard. I feel like playing against a Seraphine with 3 items is almost unwinnable just because of how much shielding and CCs she can put out. And Washidai has really been a strong point for V3, dodging away from that hook shot wall dive, just demonstrating how much skill he has developed over the course of the split. Obviously not been enough for V3 Esports, but one of those players that we are keeping an eye on for summer. Recap here in the mid lane has opted towards pickaxe, which would imply to me, RMC, as we were just completely ignoring that top lane play, a hole breaker.
Oh my god. Okay, I see where this is going now, Middle God. This is horrifying for this Ion. Yeah, because I was thinking, what are you doing with this Ion in the mid lane? You mentioned that Doinby's played it before. I was thinking, okay, maybe you just roam to the side lanes with the unstoppable onslaught constantly. But no, yeah, Hullbreaker makes a lot of sense, because I was thinking Ryze is one of the few champions that actually can handle a tank in the mid lane. He does a lot of sustained damage. But if you start building that Hullbreaker, suddenly the wave clear isn't as efficient from this Ryze. Suddenly, you're so tanky that you can actually cause him to run out of mana in lane despite A tier. And I still don't think it's necessarily optimal, but it will be interesting. And frankly, Middlecott, that's all I'm asking of this series here, is make it interesting.
And you can kind of see like the thought behind the Sion pick as well, because he is a tank that has very strong wave clear and can sort of just AFK, hit those minions, take them out, and then do what he wants. Ryze as a champion, I feel like a UGO wants to be roaming a lot to the side lanes, but if he's constantly being pushed in, it's a lot harder to actually be proactive on the map.
Yeah, and anytime you leave, with a demolition proc, Recap's going to be taking 1-2 plates every time here. So the Sion pick, definitely, you can see where it's kind of working, and you can see UGO as well starting to roam up already here, doesn't want to be in lane. I'm sure communication has come down to, hey, UGO's missing, be careful. But the question is, does Eno know it's coming topside?
What hell? Taking so much damage in the bot side. This Maokai, it looked good for about 30 seconds. At the moment, it's going kind of as well as you would expect. Washidai doing a fair bit of damage there onto Eno on the top side. Drake picked up for Rascal Jesters, and more time on this bot lane tower. This is going pretty well for them, despite being a bit of a slower pace game.
I think pretty well is a massive understatement. Soul and Secret are doing
very quite well.
Yeah, very, very quite well. Yeah, they're doing better than Utapon and Harp did with that Caitlyn lane last game. So, that's really fast with the Senna Seraphine bot side. And I think this is one of the problems that V3 is having right now. UGO can't find a play. They were looking topside, but Eno wasn't shoved out enough here. And so was Unica. And with all that attention topside, their bot side's getting punished. If they focus bot side, suddenly Rascal Jester's focus top. Herald being done right now. This should be a clean take. Hachimicha isn't in position. The question is, does Rascal Jesters want to follow up on that? They've rotated everybody to the top side.
But ultimately, not choosing to contest that Herald objective. And if they'd taken the Drake a little bit earlier, then maybe they are in a position to contest that. It's those small sort of like micro advantages. It's the sort of things that we like to see when we have these top teams against teams that are a little bit lower in the standings. It's how clean are you playing your macro, and a little bit of a fumble, honestly, in my opinion, from Rascal Jester there, allowing V3 to pick up that Herald.
Fair enough. I will keep in mind as well, though, that Rascal Jester is not really known as an early game team. So these sort of fumbles are pretty much par for the course. Where they really tend to excel is the mid game. And that's where I'm getting a little bit worried for V3, because that's where they've traditionally struggled. Washide. Oh, wow. That was interesting. I think if that had landed, it could potentially have been bad for Eno.
Oh, you just wanted that last shot to get the Gnar off, chuck into a wall and deal a heck of a ton of damage to him. Hatel still being bullied in this bot side, and being bullied in the top lane. Get some resources into this Gnar, man. He's doing a great job by his own, and I feel like the attention for Unica would be of benefit. Hachimicha, though, looking for the V3 jungler, actually going for him, already taking him down to half HP, and with the cheat towards the top side of the lane from Soul and Secret, he's going to be just fine there. But once again, Hatel caught under his own tower. Plates are being dropped low as well, and V3, I feel like they need to make a play at some point, because they're solely bleeding out on this bot side.
And I feel like it has to come from Unica, right? Like, where else is your engage coming from? Hatel the ultimate from the Maokai is so slow moving, you're never going to catch the Senna or the Seraphine. And Yu-Gi-Oh just can't seem to catch a break. He's trying to leave lane, doing a great job keeping up the farm, but Recap's always matching. And sure, you've got Realm Warp, but Recap has unstoppable onslaught to drift his way into the side lanes.
Yeah, and if you aren't fighting an outnumbered fight, probably gonna lose it. Unica making a visit towards his top side, dropping the Herald down. Unfortunately, not gonna be first tower for V3 as Rascal Jester have picked that one up, but gold into Washidai is what we want to see.
Yep, it's it's sort of the consolation prize here, and it's worth noting V3 had the Herald the entire time. They could have dropped it. Washidai's been doing amazing, absolutely nuts here. And I kind of want to see that we're talking about that gank from Unica, right? Why not go into the top side? Why not look for Eno here? Granted, hookshot is going to get you out the Cataclysm, but I feel like you don't need that much to give Washidai a way to engage. Washidai has been struggling to get there in Mega Gnar form, but if he can reach in Mega Gnar form, a flag and drag is all you need for Washidai to potentially find V3's first kill.
It would be a good setup for them. And I'm like, the Mega Gnar as well with a Cataclysm, that feels like a combo that is just like easy to do. Just one and done. You just run that, you knock Eno into the wall. He doesn't have that flash, so it is all on that hook shot. If that gets interrupted, then there's not a lot of safety on this Camille. Of course, she is going to scale into the matchup, but for the time being, it's Washidai that has that advantage. Drake is spawning in a minute's time. Rascal Jester currently have the position around it. V3 feels like they can kind of go for something here.
My hopes have been somewhat dashed here, Midocott, of Washidai being that team fight carry, of getting ahead and joining the rest of the team.
He's got
just put Hullbreaker. Yep. Washidai has no intention of joining the rest of the team. He's going, you know what? I'm going to 1v5 this, and you guys just stay alive, keep turrets up. I kind of don't blame him, because we said that V3's really been struggling to find themselves a hero here, but my goodness, to see that built on 12.5 after it's been nerfed on ranged champions, that's just painful to watch.
And with Recap matching up against him, it doesn't feel like he can even pressure out his opponent in the top side, because Recap also has that Hullbreaker, and the Sion is a tanky customer even without that item. So yeah, you're going to be a long time trying to kill this guy on the side lane, and that means that you are not getting advantages with the one lane for V3 that was actually winning.
Oh dear, yeah. I like the idea in isolation, but like you said, the fact that you're being matched with the Hullbreaker is an issue, and both of them have teleport. Recap, we've mentioned the unstoppable onslaught before, will be able to rejoin the team a little bit better as well, a bit more consistently. You don't have to charge up a rage bar. And Midocott, the other problem is the rest of V3, right? We're saying that the rest of V3 just needs to hold. They're not able to hold. Secret and Soul are getting so much chip damage in every single lane that they go to. They already took bot side. Mid lane turret now down to 3 plates already here, and that's with Unica, with Yu-Gi-Oh constantly popping their head in to try and alleviate some of that pressure.
And RMC, we're 13.5 minutes into the game. We've got more Drakes than kills at this point, and it feels like this has been a bit of an issue, although saying that...
Have you cursed it? Have you cursed it? Oh.
Potentially cursed it. I don't feel like that's a curse at that point. I feel like if we're seeing more kills in this game, it's a blessing, but unfortunately... a blessing not to be. Hatel using the flash to get out of that potential engage in the mid lane, but it's been very slow paced and very uninteractive from both these teams. We know that that's what Rascal Jester like to do. They like to play these slower games, but come on, man, speed it up a little bit. It's the last game of the split. This doesn't matter for your standings at all. Can we please have some more excitement, guys?
Yeah, send in the clowns, Rascal Jesters. Where is our entertainment here? I was tickled by the draft, but not anymore. I mean, Recap's doing nothing but split pushing anyway, so this Sion really isn't as exciting. And I'm sorry to say here, Midocott, but I just don't see Rascal Jesters being aggressive for the next little while. Mythics are starting to come through. First item completed across everybody pretty much, but Senna scales up infinitely. Seraphine, like you said, 3 items is nigh unkillable. So there's really no rush for the Jesters. Instead, it's V3 who might be feeling the pressure, but they too have a Rise. They too have an Ezreal, both of whom are looking to scale. So it's Unica or bust, and right now it's looking like bust.
So when should we expect our next fight then, RMC? Like, what's the next thing that's going to happen that these teams should actually be fighting over?
They should be fighting over this Herald. I mean, you can see V3 are walking up. They want to contest it. They're looking for it. But the problem is Rascal Jesters don't need to fight you. They just need to kind of zone you off, maybe. Oh, fight.
Yeah, Hatchemetcha being engaged onto the Cataclysm dropped as well, able to flash away. And whilst that looks cool, RMC, that's one less proactive tool on the map, which makes me upset, as top lane tower does fall for recap, and V3 are potentially getting pincered here. Hatcher is still very low off of that engage, around about 2/3 HP, but does still have access to that Dragon's Rage if he wants to go in. TPs are being challenged as well as Yu-Gi-Oh is flashing forward. Double roots, encore onto 2. There goes the piercing darkness. The Secret secures the first kill, and it's a second for Rascal Jester as Hatchemetcha 1v1ing Unica on the other side of the map. We wanted this game to get explosive, and Rascal Jester's obliged with 4 kills in the topside river.
I am happy here, Middlecott. Not only do we get to see the action that we've been craving for 16 minutes of the game, but the macro well played as well from Rascal Jesters. They used recap to get that topside turret before they collapsed in as well. The vision play as well from Rascal Jesters. They have full control of this area. You can see right now that they can account for every single member of the side of V3, and they could see dress code off on the side because they have all those wards. Dress code never cleared that pink, and because they have full vision here, they know when they can engage, and the encore coming through ends up catching multiple members. Yu-Gi-Oh's did before he can really do anything. Dress code didn't get the poke down fast enough, and I feel bad for Rashide because you're teleporting in for this fight. You had the Mega Nar Rage Bar charged up, but this is one of those moments where, you know, as Rashide, you build Hullbreaker, maybe you just tell your team, hey, guys, I'm split pushing. Just give up the Herald, right? Just don't fight this, and instead, you get killed.
But RMC, it's gold efficient. Copium, the stats are gold efficient. Yeah, you don't really want to be grouping up. You want to be fighting alone. You want to be hunting alone. Like, the item literally tells you to do that. But V3, they went in for that fight, and it went badly for them. I do just want to shout out very quickly, Soul's flash there, away from the flash womb prison from Yu-Gi-Oh was perfectly timed. If he didn't get that off, he goes down, and maybe V3 can play out the rest of this fight. But as it stands, we've got a Drake spawning in 30 seconds time. It'd be soul point for Rascal Jester, but it's actually V3 the ones moving into the river first. The real question is, can they keep this priority?
They're looking for it. Hatchemetcha, no flash this time, but does have backup, and it's a double support so you can heal him up. It's just so rough here. Cataclysm is up, and I feel like Unica, you need to kind of brute force this here. Let's go.
Flash forced from Secret there, but it's patient. It's patient stuff. He's just burning cooldowns, meaning that the next time he goes for that engage, it's going to go a little bit better. Recap though, just chilling. Unperturbed as V3 are looking for an engage in the mid lane. That was not the best timed uncrawl that I've ever seen, and Secret is going to be punished for it. Just a single kill though. Can V3 translate it into anything more?
I don't know. They've got to go for this dragon, but Recap's still in their base pushing. Yu-Gi-Oh actually having to TP back, and this means that the fight in the dragon is by no means secure here. Hatchemetcha could still look for a steal. They've even dropped the Herald for additional pressure.
Recap is TPing in as well. Washidai is in mini form. There is no tank for V3. There's a big one for Rascal Jester into the backline. Eno and Hatchemetcha dive. They have to jump back out, but they are going back in. Pick only onto one, but it's the first kill of the fight already secured. Second one picked up by Recap, and Dress Code has nowhere to go. Yu-Gi-Oh now going to be the focus of Soul, but just out of range. Rascal Jester showing us why they're the third place team.
Well, Middlecott, you said, that these sort of games are the games for the higher seeded team to prove their stuff. Has Rascal Jesters proved themselves to you? Up 7,000 gold pre-20 minutes here, 8-1. The only death kind of from Secret's questionable encore. And even then, like you said, it burnt summoners. So, Middlecott, is this to your satisfaction?
It's pretty damn good. Rascal Jesters have kind of done everything that they've needed to do in the last 8 minutes or so, which is excellent. And even taking that mid lane inhibitor is a signal of intent, right? Generally, you don't want to be taking that because you're feeding minions in, blah, 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 blah. Don't care about that. Take structures, win games, and this was the fight that pretty much secured it for them.
Yeah, and it was that patient play from Unica kind of getting them that particular pick. The issue is what happens after that, right? And Rascal Jesters, this is why they're such a good late game team. My goodness, can't even say that straight. They challenge your decision making. Recap is forcing you to kind of say, somebody answers me, we are okay to give you dragon, or I take your entire base. And the moment somebody goes back, you had to burn a TP to get there in time. And so Recap gets the TP in, make sure that they have that strength advantage. What should have been a 5v4 or 5v3 situation ended up becoming a 4v5 and 4v4, pardon me. And Rascal Jesters, they're just stronger right now. Eno might be struggling the 1v1, but he's got 4 kills and he's more efficient in these team fights.
RMC, Recap's got a Trinity Force.
Oh my! Is this going to be the zombie Scion tech?
This is. I mean, the zombie Scion tech is hurting. Like if you're V3, jumping on top of you as Secret is getting jumped on top of by Unica, throws out the encore, but so many people coming in, piling in the damage and the CC. But Unica is going to get taken down in the 3v4. TP's coming through as Nature's Graph is also used. Hotel going to be rooted up in the end, but so is Eno. Recap on a flag though on the Scion, and there is nowhere to go for V3. Kick onto dress code. The resonating strike not even going to be needed as Yu-Gi-Oh is actually pumping out a fair bit of damage. A Recap, the only member of Rascal Jester currently left alive. Very tanky on the Scion, but is he tanky enough? Turning around, thinking about opting back in for that trade, but will just back away. And I don't think that V3 had any right winning that fight.
No, they don't, but hope springs eternal here in middle court, and you cannot ignore the rise. Now with the Fimble Winter completed, it's just pumping out the damage. Now the fight starts off, and I want to highlight this encore from Secret again, because I think Secret's encores have not been on point right now, and I understand why you had to pull the trigger early, because they were worried about dying. But if you had waited till the Realm War had completed, there have been so much easier. Thankfully though, for the side of V3, Yu-Gi-Oh basically is untouched. Yes, they went in on him initially, but after this little play, they completely forgot about him, because they kicked dress code in and they were like, oh, let's kill the Ezreal. He's the slippery Ezreal. Yeah, he is, but he's not necessarily the only damage threat. Rise's damage threat is right up there, and Recap, for all that he built a Trinity Force right now, still doesn't hit that hard.
Yeah, it's kind of just to like get a little bit of extra burst when you're engaging anyway. It doesn't turn you into someone that can 1v2 on the backside of the fight, especially as you were talking about with 2 items already completed on that Rise. 2 items on the Ezreal as well. These damage carries are not at irrelevant points in the game, and I think that's going to be very important in a minute and a half's time when V3 are going to have to fight over Hextech Soul.
Yeah, and the team fights right now are actually slightly in favor of V3, because Rascal Jesters are relying very heavily on Soul to be their primary sustained damage through a lot of these fights. So as long as V3 can kill Soul, I don't care who you have to expend to do it. As long as you do it and either Yu-Gi-Oh or Dress Code are still alive, V3 could potentially still win these fights here. So very clear win cons for V3. And once again, I'm looking at Unica and I'm looking at Washidai a little bit. Washidai has shown that, hey, I'm not just split pushing. I'm actually willing to come team fight with the rest of the team. And if your Gnar is team fighting with the rest of the team, your Gnar needs to be able to disrupt these fights, needs to find priority targets.
I mean, we've seen over the course of many years of pro play how one Gnar can just completely change the complexion of a fight and the complexion of an entire game. Washidai wants to show off that carry potential that a lot of us believe that he can have, and he can develop into one of those big carry players. Then getting those ultimates in games like this is a good way to start that off. Recap, though, just completely doesn't care about a Yu-Gi-Oh in the side lane. Inhib tower going down. Does still have that TP, so can get to that Drake when it spawns in 30 seconds time. But Yu-Gi-Oh is going to have to run over there quick sharp if he wants to be there in time to help his team.
Yeah, they set Washidai to try and deal with Recap. Now this works a little bit better here. Recap not quite able to deal with that. And interestingly enough,
so
this is Trinity
just backing away
Force
as Rascal Jester do still have the priority around this Drake, spawning in 5 seconds time. But V3 are still thinking about opting in. They kind of need to, because if this Drake goes over, then it is absolutely a loss. TPs are being channeled. They are going to go for this one. Rascal Jester just backing away. They do not want to take a flip, but V3 are going to go, we are more than happy to do that. As the Dragon is stolen away. Hatchemetcha not able to secure it as Eno is fighting a Yu-Gi-Oh in a losing battle for the V3 mid laner. And now V3 Esports corralled into the Dragon Pit, have nowhere to go. You get the Drake, but 3 of you die. Is that really worth?
No, but you get objective bounties and you had no choice. And now, unfortunately, Rascal Jester, because they managed to find the kills on the back end, onto Dress Code, onto Hatel, onto Unica, this is a free Baron for them there. And I think V3's plan was get the Dragon, get out, and huge props to Recap for actually finding Dress Code in the midst of all that chaos. I mean, with an Arcane Shift, Dress Code should have been safe over the back of the pit, but unfortunately wasn't quite able to do it. And watch the TPs here, because you can see that where they come in. Recap's actually further away, so the odds were really good at first for V3, but they're kind of split. And more importantly, Washidai is mini. You can't team fight this. You need to get out here. Oh, Dress Code had to burn the Arcane Shift early, so yeah, wasn't able to get out. And once you lose this many people, you can lose one, tops two, and still contest that Baron. You lose three, and one of them being your jungler. Sure, you got the Dragon, you stopped the soul, but Rascal Jester's got Baron, and
I can hear almost sort of like the pain in your voice. Like that was, it was close for V3, but they weren't able to make it happen. And yeah, now RJ, they don't have a Hextech soul, but they've got another big late game buff in that Baron, and they've already got two open inhibs. So maybe this could be the Baron that actually ends the game. Washidai is going to run into Eno in the top side, and with the support from EUJ, will force the Rascal Jester top lane away. But that's two members invested to the top side of the map, and there's no one really to defend this mid lane against Recap. I don't think Dress Code's going to be able to do the job.
So, Middlecott, the reason why you hear pain in my voice has less to do with the fact that V3 lost the fight and more to do with what I'm imagining Recap's about to do to them with the Baron buff. He was already ignoring everybody but Washidai on these pushes with that Trinity Force, with that Hullbreaker. Now you've got Baron buff as well. He's going to be able to more efficiently take these starts. And I would actually like to see Rascal Jester's 4-1 where they send the 4 into those open inhibs instead. Realm Warp.
RMC. Soul is going to be the focus. Washidai jumping on top of him, but misses with the wallop, and that means the center continues to fire from the backline. Hachimetra going in and turning around the fight right at the start. One kill for Rascal Jester as he goes forward once again, and Hatel, Washidai, and co are going to be forced to run away. Recap's just in the base, taking down the Nexus towers. This is a 4v4, but you still don't win it, V3. You are too far behind at this point. Yes, Eno goes down. Yes, Eujo is able to get a single kill, but he is trapped under this tower. He has nowhere to go, and he has nothing to do. V3, they showed good things at points, but they're going to drop down for the final time this split. 0-21, not where you want to be, but a really great game from Rascal Jester.
Well, Middlecott, that is one way to set